goes to their destination and then meets another bus, for instance, it would be covered.
Yeah.
If something's wrong with your line and you need to change 2 lines and then a bus, it's covered.
Covered, yeah. So can we add the transfer, like first and second?
As many as you want within the 2 hours, unlimited.
Yeah, so that's included, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can get on the 4 and then get on the 4 again,
Yeah, you
Chances
can.
are you wouldn't be doing that if you were going to work, for instance.
We're returning around and going back.
By the way, you can
Yeah,
do that
that's
on
it,
buses
you go
now,
back.
you know, as long as the bus destination sign is correct, and they're frequently not, but if the bus, if it's correct, you could, for instance, go down Columbus and up Amsterdam on one fare. Just so you know, so you can do that now on the buses. If it's within the time limit, 2 hours, yeah. Yeah, yes,
I
Devin,
just want to, out where I live in the outer boroughs, when we get off
you're in the
train-
innermost borough, Deborah.
I am?
You
Where?
are. It's the only borough that you have to go through another borough to get out of the city of New York.
Correct.
So you're the inner borough.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm in Innisborough, but I'm in the,
In
very
the
close,
outreaches.
but I'm in the outreaches near the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
Okay, when we get off the bus, and also now, unfortunately, with my broken ankle, to get on, I have to sometimes go beyond the 2-hour transfer period. And I'm not the only person who uses a wheelchair, or walker, or devices. So this affects people with disabilities, and I understand what you're saying for 2 hours, but I would really like to see it for 3 hours, because there are times we're sitting at the bus stops, waiting 45 minutes, and
If
I
that's
can't
the
walk
case,
home.
if it's what you just said, if the bus has not shown up, you'll be issued that 3-legged transfer if it's no fault of your own. It's a little tough for me to sell a 3-hour. I just don't think I would get anywhere with it, so.
Try Canarsie, and they would definitely, because in Canarsie, when you have to wait, see, if you live at the 17th going to 105th Street, it runs a little more. But when it goes the other way, they can wait over an hour and a half for the bus.
East 105th Street.
Yes, you're right, he's on 5th Street, but the bus is going to the other way.
Yes. Edith.
I mean, I was just going to Hunts Point on the 6th yesterday, which would have required 3/4 of a mile wheel to the train, to 125th, cross over, Yankee Stadium, transfer, 125th, and then come back up. And I personally was just gonna do the A to 125th, wheel across.
You were going from where
My
you
apartment
live
in one,
to Hunts Point in the South Bronx.
yes. Otherwise, what I typically do, and which is what I usually do on 42nd, is I just wheel. You know, the in-between.
You were getting on at 175 on the A?
Yep. Yep. So, you know, when you start talking 2 hours, and if I'm sitting on a platform, I mean, we you know, when we did the, when you and I did the ones at 42nd, at 72nd Street,
Yeah.
and it was standard for one particular train. There was
Yeah.
like always a 30-minute, at least a 25-minute gap. I'm not sure.
Yeah, at its particular time,
Yeah.
it happened every day.
It's like
consistently
every,
had a
it was between
full-
25 and 28 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
the due time of the next train. So if you get stuck waiting at any one of those connections, I mean, I've got 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. I mean, come on. And we don't have, you know,
Yeah.
2-minute lead times.
I hear you. It's, anyway, let me just move on. So, one of the board members, Scott Reckler, has a working group devoted to cost reduction on major projects, and one of his big issues is design build for future projects. We are using that on various things now, and it does speed up the procurement process and the time needed to do the job. And so they are looking for further design builds on most future projects if it can be done. So that's one way of the MTA saving money. You know, the governor has said a lot about, you've got to tighten your belt. Well, that's one way. Getting more bidders on projects is another way. You may, of course, realize from, if you ride the trains, that we only have basically 3 car builders supplying all of our cars. Bombardier, Kawasaki, and Alstom. there will be on the new R262 cars, which are gonna replace the R62s on the IRT, which there's no contract yet, but a Chinese company will actually be included in the bidding, and they're building pretty fabulous cars from what other systems are
Can
saying,
you
so.
repeat that again, Andrew, what car number train you said?
R262,
R262?
they will be replacing the R62s and 62As, which are now on the 1 and the 3 lines.
The silvers.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first new IRT car or A division car that we have heard any talk about in a long time. We've heard plenty of B division, the R211s, the R179s.
And also replacing the 6 as well? 'Cause the 6 has those cars too.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it'll be those two. So fare evasion, sorry, yes, absolutely. You're nowhere near getting that even bid on. It's just talked about now, but at least it's in the horizon, some new IRT cars. So fare evasion continues to be a huge discussion. At one of the briefings, Commissioner Schwartz, Larry Schwartz, not Sam Schwartz, is proposing a new green fee on newly purchased Metro cards, which possibly could double.
Isn't there one already?
There's $1. He's talking about having it go to $2 and that additional money go to combat fare evasion
How?
with additional personnel in places.
You gonna hire more cops?
That's what
Well,
they're talking
We've had
about.
a safe street, safe city tax before, and it worked very well, if they really spend the money on more cops.
You don't even need it. I was very surprised. There was just a transit
It's kind of a
worker,
feel-good thing.
a
but-
transit person at the Penn Station entry to the A train. And it was just really interesting because I am used to being like having 5 people trail me in when I get my card. And this guy was just standing there. And it was sort of funny because he did not know that when we dipped our cards, the gate opened. It made a ping and the gate opens. And he was like, wow, that's cool. But his just standing there was a deterrent.
Absolutely.
He wasn't a cop making God knows how much money.
Well, they don't make that much, let's
They
not get
make
carried away.
Well, they're making a hell of a lot more than most of us did, but okay. But they're making more than the schlub standing there in a vest. And, you know,
How do you think he'd like being referred to as a schlub?
Yeah.
I think he would have no problem because he seemed like a really sweet guy.
What is it, last night when I was in.
Wait a minute,
Oh, sorry.
are you done with that story?
Yeah, I
No,
don't think
you're
you need a
absolutely
cop.
right.
Was he
There
in a
are,
uniform?
the orange vested people standing at a lot of the slam gates,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
a
does
deterrent.
deter,
It's
it
a
absolutely does.
deterrent. Except at 125th where the guy holds the gate open
Oh,
for everyone to walk in.
That's a
Last
deterrent.
night at Times Square, there was a guy with a coat and he was auxiliary.
Everybody was wearing a coat, it was cold last
An
night.
orange jacket that said auxiliary. What
NYPD auxiliary?
Yeah,
Police
Probably.
auxiliary.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
auxiliary police, they
Yeah.
are not part of it, they are just.
They get training, but they don't have weapons.
They do not have weapons,
don't
right?
have
They have,
weapons.
they have some,
They only
but they're a
have weapons.
component of NYPD.
Yeah.
Yes,
NYPD.
yes.
Yeah.
they're-
It's like
Well,
being
volunteers, they don't
is
get
that what
paid
we would-
either.
It's like being a
Well,
volunteer
once it's
firefighter.
not
Right,
clear.
that's what it is.
Volunteers.
But they're covered
Not
by
clear.
insurance
It's
and workers'
bodies, but I
comp
don't
and
know.
everything.
yeah.
But they do
But
get
they don't
paid.
get
This is
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It could
Yes,
also
once a
be a
year.
New Year-
Once
it
a
could
year.
also
Yvonne?
They get paid once a year.
I have a question about, what you call it, the green fee?
Green fee, yeah.
Well, I have
You know
a,
why it's called that.
I have an unlimited card, right?
Yeah.
But when I go to JFK,
Right.
I can't use my unlimited
Yeah.
card. So
No.
I have to buy a green card, pay an extra buck. And now you're saying that, would I pay $2 extra? I mean, why can't they figure it so that the.
When you have the new fare payment, that'll be a thing of the past,
Well, I may
obviously.
be not around then.
You'll be around next
But
year.
no, but also, I agree with you, I agree with you because on my half-fare card,
Yeah,
you know, there are conceptual pockets in it. You know, you have the unlimited, then there's the pocket where you put money in so you can use it on the express bus, etc.
Yeah.
But I personally just carry a regular card in my wallet with $5 on it.
But then it has, I've done that, but then it always gets beyond the expiration date and I haven't used it.
Well, you transfer that to a new free
sell
card.
rides
at that point.
Andrew,
All right.
what you just
Go to the
said is what I was saying to Andy before. And exactly, you wanna do something now. You don't wanna know a year from now even, or whatever. That is the frustration of the public.
I get it.
quote
But that's
unquote.
nothing.
Andrew, how many dollars are we talking about on this?
It's gonna go from 1 to
It's gonna
2.
go from $1 to $2.
How many dollars are we talking overall?
I mean, how much are we gonna earn?
I think,
$10,000, $1 million, $20 million?
I think, for some reason, the figure 79 million sticks in my mind.
Of
For
card
increasing
sales?
it $1?
No way. I don't know if that's even possible. I actually, some of the figures I got at that briefing were incorrect, and to be quite honest,
$79 million deal.
Commissioner Schwartz said,
It was like
um,
the
Larry
bingo ball.
Schwartz said,
Let it be known from here on that the only Commissioner Schwartz that's gonna be discussed is Commissioner Larry Schwartz, so we don't have to do that.
yeah,
Duty noted.
we'll save time.
Other one is just Sam Schwartz.
Yeah, just Sam, call him Sam.
He
It's
said,
Larry.
Oh, Sam.
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 No, Larry, Larry, Sam is the old.
folks,
know.
can we got other things to talk about.
Yes.
He was breaking down the type of fare media that the poorest New Yorkers buy, and he was of the opinion it was the single ride Metro card, and it is not. And I said to Chief Financial Officer Foran, I said, Bob, when we went through this 2 years ago, when we were figuring options A and B, you gave us the breakdown of fare types, and by income, and by far and away, the bonus Metro card was what the poorest New Yorkers are buying. They're poor, but they're not stupid, and they bought something that gave them a bonus, and he said, you're absolutely right. And so Commissioner Schwartz said, oh, okay, that broke part of that argument. However, there is talk now of doing away with any bonus. That is going to be one of the fare options presented. You may keep the base fare where it is, and that makes for great headlines and great optics, but you are actually making a fare increase for the vast majority of the MTS customers if you do that. I just want to be clear on that. It's great to keep the base fare where it is for Accessoride, for people that do happen to buy one-way fares, which is almost nobody, but
Except for tourists.
yeah. And, but that is one of
Gotta
the
get the tourists.
problems
That's
with that. And now the last thing I want to give on my report, because we do have other things to talk about, is there is a piece of good news that the governor has initiated. There is agreement with Amtrak on renovations to the Pelham Bridge and the Harold interlocking, which means the Penn Access project of Metro North coming into some of the freed up slots in Penn Station after East Side Access happens is a go. Which means that trains can originate from New Rochelle or Stamford or New Haven, come down through the Hellgate route after New Rochelle, after Shell interlocking, and stop at 4 New Bronx stations, Co-op City, Parkchester, Morris Park, and Hunts Point. And
125th Street.
well, there is no 125th Street on that route. It's the Hellgate route. After Hunts Point, it goes to Penn Station, which will give people in the northeast Bronx, I mean, people imagine Co-op City to Midtown in a half hour. That's what this is going to mean.
Andrew, did I hear you right, that this great announcement that was made will not go into effect until
can't.
East Side, okay.
2023 at the earliest.
Here we go again with 4 or 5 years from now. So
You've gotta start things, Trudy. There's going to be new stations constructed.
all I am saying is when these things are announced, it should be made clear so that people.
That
don't
was made
get
very
those-
clear. There's no space in Penn Station if you don't free up those slots with East Side Access. So that was very clear from all of the announcements. What I would like to see, and what Acting Chair Ferrer has expressed a liking for, is having our Freedom Ticket initiative be usable on those 4 Bronx stations. Of course, on the Hunts Point station, where it's immediately adjacent to the 6th train station, it's less of an issue than it is at the other 3. And I think our Freedom Ticket initiative has a certain distance from a subway station to be usable. So Hunts, yeah,
There's
so
also
Hunts Point would not,
capacity. There's also capacity.
Hunts Point would not be an issue for that. But anyway, that's my board report. Things I have to say, after last week's meetings and seeing the board just thrown to the side and gone around on the issues of the L train and the fare hike. I was very disheartened after last week. Last week was not a good week for employees of the MTA, the board, the image of the MTA. I think our credibility is worse than it's ever been now. I don't think the governor has helped in that regard.
He created the problem.
His recent remarks about who would want the job of chairman now is because of what he's done.
I think you,
And let me ask you
I
this,
think you was
his trying to get control of the entire system, can you imagine 7 county executives of the suburban and ex-urban counties,
Yeah.
as well as the 4, as well as New York's mayor, giving up what little control they now have?
The mayor says he doesn't have any control.
Who says?
The mayor. And the mayor said.
He's
the
got
mayor-
4 appointments.
May I say, yeah, but no, he doesn't care. And
That's
what's-
true, Trudy.
What is going on between the governor and the mayor, and when Andy says he doesn't want to get politics involved, it's all politics. And basically what the governor has said, okay, you want to give me all the blame? You, Bill de Blasio, want to give me all the blame and say you had nothing to do with this? You don't even want to give money except for the millionaires tax? So fine, then I'll take over. But you know, and I'm not saying, I'm not defending the governor
I got it,
because
I got it.
But that,
Is there anybody out here who doesn't believe he has control?
Yeah, right.
I'll sell you a bridge.
Bill de Blasio and his
That's because
minions,
of, yeah,
and his
right.
minions who
right.
just keep on making more by.
Well, actually,
We
they've
should talk about what
been
we go over and
they've been
divide.
united in 2 issues, Trudy, the mayor and the governor. They're
Amazon.
united on the L train shutdown being averted, and they're united in Amazon. So they are united on some issues, apparently.
All the things we don't
Yes.
agree with.
Are we on
Right.
old or new business yet?
No, but we're getting there. Trust me, we're getting
Tomorrow.
Now, I have one unusual item of business that I would like to bring up because I have been implored by Alan Flax.
Oh.
I knew that was gonna be the reaction.
And
He, listen to me, he buttonholed me after our community board transportation committee, he says, so is this a forever thing or am I ever gonna be allowed back? You know, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be on my best behavior. I have good ideas, you know. That is true, he occasionally does. It's the other Michigan that you have to put up.
Andrew, I'm
I
going,
know, I
Andrew,
know.
I'm going to give you some advice, because I get at least 3 phone calls, and if you get it at your community board meeting, I get it constantly. And I would
Don't
suggest.
answer the phone, Trudy.
I would suggest, but he has, no, because
I
I
promised
know
him
a
I'd bring
number
it
of
up.
people who have private number or, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I would suggest that right now you let it stand, because there are other problems with Alan Flax also. You don't wanna get.
No,
you don't
I know
wanna
that.
get
He
in
sent
the-
me a letter.
You don't wanna get in the middle of
He's got
it
some
right
health
now.
issues.
That's just my advice to you.
Okay, I just wanted to,
One-on-one,
I told him I would,
To everybody else here.
Trudy, I told him I would present this to everybody. He has asked, I'm sorry? Oh, yes, he is also, don't let this influence you in any way.
He's very sick.
He's threatening to sue over this.
Oh, please.
Obviously, we are talking to the MTA's
Of course
counsel.
I know.
Tell him.
I don't answer him.
We're talking to council about it. Obviously, it's not gonna go anywhere. People have been banned from the building. I was really taken aback when he menaced Assembly Member Paulin. I think that's just a non-starter for me. I think he has, I don't know, but he certainly got his lesson. I don't know if we wanna give him a trial. If you wanna just leave it
No,
alone,
no.
that's fine.
Fine.
Is that what folks would like to do? Just keep it the way it is? Is that, can I see a show of hands so I?
Unanimous vote.
I think you already got one.
I think you get the vote, right?
Anybody else have another feeling? Because this is the time.
I abstain.
She's
Okay.
still, oh, she's gonna vote for you.
Sharon, you're abstaining? Or
No,
you?
I think we should let it be.
All right, so you're, okay, I got it. Thank you. Now I think we can,
Want me to give a little?
yes, you were gonna
Okay.
do something, yes.
So I'm just gonna give a real brief staff report. So we did, it was up in Albany today. I think that it's important that we have a presence up there to reaffirm the points that we've been making about congestion pricing, about funding fast forward, about ensuring that there is
Sorry.
a look at the future of the system in addition to the near future of the improvements that are being made and to continue to sort of beat that drum. There's a legislative day coming up on February 26th with a number of transit advocates that will be there with as
February
well.
26th?
Yes,
Do you realize that that is the day of the
I guess I
special
do.
election?
I know. I'm going to go and vote in advance as on an absentee ballot because you can do it if you go to their office.
Where is this meeting?
In Albany.
Oh,
And that is actually being sponsored by NYCTRC, which is the New York Public Transit Association, in conjunction with Tri-State Transportation. Sheila and I met with Tri-State earlier this week. It was a great meeting to talk about opportunities where we share, where we agree. There are certainly places where we don't agree, and I let them know that we're not gonna, agree on everything, but that there are more voices in the room that are making the same point, the better. So that we'll work with them jointly. We've two projects that we're working on in-house, the 100-day, 100-night report that you've all been involved with, it's coming to a close. We're hoping for February 14th release date, because we love transit improvements. But we will have everybody will have an opportunity to see it in advance of that. And Sheila's also making progress on, and Bradley's taking the lead on that, and Ellen is weighing in on a very strong and high level. The capital program funding thermometer is also being updated, and Sheila and Ellen are working on that, pulling together the numbers. It's an interactive thermometer that you'll be able to see based on what different funding streams, buttons you push, how much money that would net for the system. So it's something that people are going to be able to touch and play with, and hopefully that'll make the point that you need more than one tool in that toolbox. We've testified at all of the committee and board meetings and emergency meetings that have happened in the last month since we've met. We've spoken to the press on a number of different activities along on the L train, and we're going to actually be keeping better track of that so we can share all of that with you. What I'm finding is really interesting is that, and very impressive, is that our social media, our Twitter presence in January increased in 1 month with a 20% increase in followers. From 2000 to a 20% increase in our Twitter followers, a 500% increase in people who saw our posts, a 200% increase to our profile views, and 160% increase in tweet mentions. We received 102 likes, and our tweets were shared 41 times. So
what do you attribute to such an increase all of a sudden? Because we're more active
my
on those
perspective
feeds?
is that if you don't have anything to say, you shouldn't say it, and we've got a lot to say. So we're saying things that are relevant. Sheila is monitoring everything, is being aggressive and assertive in what we look
Don't you have another
at.
A for her? Attractive?
She does it with aplomb.
Okay, good, very good.
But we don't just like something or retweet it, it's certainly something that we.
What was the majority of the topics of the tweets, do we know? What issue got to people most?
Most of us testifying at the board hearings, and I think one of the big things this past month was the statements and testimonies that we gave regarding the L train.
Great. So.
And these were positive as to our positions, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We've had a number of, and we're going to keep that, and we'll monitor that and continue to report to you. We've had some great meetings. I mentioned the meeting with Tri-State. We met with Alex Alagudin a week or so ago on a number of important issues, and Bradley and Carol are keeping in close contact regarding the vertical gap report that had been done and different improvements that either have been made or could still be made.
We're actually going to revisit all of those. I have another entire list
Great.
of stations that we did not identify, and made the point that The problem is really the era of the equipment more than anything,
Yeah.
as well as the train stopping appropriately. Because 9 times out of 10, the train does not stop on the hump when I'm getting on.
Right,
So it's the,
you're right.
Interesting.
instead, it's like dead center in the jointer of the
It's
car.
equipment related, right? Type of car.
No.
No, it's.
Type of car
that
is a
could be
big,
addressed.
okay. First issue is type of car. Second issue is the load factor issue.
Oh, as to how,
The
yeah,
height,
yeah.
so if it's rush hour and I can't even get in the train, there'll be no gap pretty much. But if it's, like
Right.
8 o'clock at night trying to get on to 34th Street, I can have a big ass gap there.
So that sounds like an excellent
Or bag,
idea
for
to,
sure.
Right, coming off the train, it's also a factor of the equipment, and I think there might be an issue of trying to work within the community to talk about types of equipment,
Okay.
because there are different configurations of power. I have a rear wheel drive and a big tire. People who have those little tiny front casters and have six wheels
Yeah,
have
it's
much
different.
greater problems because the power base is in the middle. And then you can't, I come up, pop the back, and plop myself down. But I've been having a lot of issues with having to have people get me onto trains lately.
Wow.
And
Chris?
answer to add with Edith also lately, I'm seeing that I'm gonna say for Brooklyn end, because lately on the Brighton line, the signage is like, if you're getting off the Kings Highway Station, yes, it's not completely even, but if you're in the Coney Island bound side, you have to be not at the conductor's position, but you almost have to be closer to almost between the 6th and 7th car of the Q train, will be the opposite of B train, will be the 6th car, because the whole thing is long.
Is there signage to indicate that?
The
Not
signs are
really.
small, not really, but either way, they're really small, but the problem is to get even a walker or a wheelchair to go through, it's really, you gotta be praying that Q train doesn't leave the station, because, as Edith said, it's hard for the edge to come, because it's like,
Right.
if I'm walking near this edge, I'm right near, and it's, to me, it's a safety issue.
Have you brought this to Alex's attention?
Yes,
Yeah,
Well, let's
What does he say?
since Bradley and Carol are also working
We'll look
with the
into it.
office, let's have, maybe you guys can have a separate conversation and figure out a good path
Yeah.
forward, because
but
it's
Bradley and I are discussing
excellent,
revisiting all of those ones that were cited, and I also have this additional list.
terrific, that's great.
Great.
And I think that on the February 6th event, that's also a good topic of conversation, so maybe even as a starter,
Yeah, no,
maybe it's maybe there's a pre-conversation that you
yeah,
guys can
yeah, no,
have
I mean,
to voice that and stuff.
yeah, I mean, but the, yeah. I think that the issue is that, for example, a lot of the equipment on the A is just piss poor at the moment. And we've got those old beasts, and there's just no way of getting them to level.
Chris,
Those are-
can you get pictures of the signage that you're talking about at the
it's on the
stations?
Kings, it's the Kings Highway Station.
I never go out there. Can you
Okay.
get pictures?
I can take a picture, I'll take a
Oh,
picture.
you will if you
Shame
come
on
on
you.
our event,
Okay,
you'll see.
okay, it's a deal.
So
I'll
the
explain
last
to
thing
you
I
after
just
the
wanna
meeting.
say about that meeting, is that we've also asked that there be, accessible push buttons, added to this floor 17 and 4. So that people can,
I was very surprised I went to 20, obviously.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, there is now a push plate.
yes, there is.
Because Alex, they're now on
Yeah.
30 and 20 for
Right.
him. But we said to him that we thought this floor should be, because
Right.
we have public meetings. 17 is transit, government and community affairs. And I picked 4 because the MTA HR department is there. Now, Transit's HR department is in Brooklyn, so, but.
Where is the Sam, Griselda, what floor are they on?
That's, that's Capital Pro.
If they're
I-
putting them,
Basically, we have to not bite off more than we can chew.
No, I'm just asking a
And so that
question.
will be the next battle.
Why not, excuse me, why not bite off more? If they're gonna put them on some floors, why not just ask for them to be put on all floors?
Because he asked us to do bite-sized pieces.
What?
He asked us to do it on a.
In incremental basis.
Incremental.
When you're talking about
Stretch it out
floor
of
though,
the
adding in the
security.
bathrooms for those floors that are being done?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, they're
please.
actually gonna do they're actually gonna do the bathrooms on all of those floors,
No,
not
I
just doing
don't.
that?
Putting in the request if they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be.
It would be making it accessible.
So how many floors of this, are we getting 4 floors?
We don't know
No,
what we're getting.
we're-
We know what we're asking.
Two are already done, we're asking for, he
Should
said,
be the
give
whole
us
building,
just a
just the whole
couple more
building.
floors that you felt, and,
Wait, Carol,
Yeah.
you said 2 were already done, bathrooms or push plate?
I think both are done on 20 and 30.
Okay.
The bathroom, I think on 20 is bathroom.
Yes. All right, and that is my,
Okay, let's go to old business.
You have something on the agenda for old business, Andrew?
Discuss budget, fair.
That's
well,
already
that's
been,
already been discussed.
we already did that. Yes,
Old business was that. The Chief of Transit Bureau spoke here last month, I think last year, and we talked about fare beating, which continues, but also the report came out, larcenies are way up as well. So I don't, there's no causation.
I'm sorry,
Larcenies
oh,
on the subways.
larceny, I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear.
Larcenies,
Fine.
particularly meaning
Thievery.
pickpockets,
Yes.
pickpockets.
International ring of pickpocket.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
not so sure I believe that. Sounds very romantic.
international.
They all come from
Yeah.
It's a way of funding your tourism.
It's a way of funding the wall, because they're coming from South America, according to the Daily
Maybe
News.
they're coming from Toronto.
Dickens wrote
But we do,
Because we don't have a wall.
I think if crime on the subways goes up, it's bad for everybody, but Transit Riders Council has to keep its eye on the crime stats, just like you do so nicely on other topics. Because when crime was way up in the 80s and 90s,
It hurt ridership. big
nobody
time.
rode the subways.
I don't
We'll do
think
that.
that from the articles that it was that serious. I mean, I think it's up.
No, but an 18% increase, when the chief said crime is coming down, I was a
Yeah,
little.
but everything else was down, all the other categories.
I'm sure it has to do with the electronics that everybody is carrying.
Yes.
Well, it always
You
was.
should
The
steal a
Cell
wall.
phones.
We don't hear about
iPhones,
Apple picking as
But
much
there were
as.
no iPhones in the 80s.
but I don't like to blame the victims. So even though we tell people, put away your jewelry and hide your phones, I would prefer a safer transit system.
Put
So
your
I'm just
wallet in
trying
the
to
front pocket.
Put your wallet where people can find it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would like to encourage the
We,
group
we
to keep
follow
an
the
eye
crime
on it.
stats, I get them
We'll do
every
it.
month too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Mr. X?
Okay. I had a message for that chief the previous month, and I said he needs to tell officers on his administration to stop harassing riders, those suspicious to them, like myself. Okay, I stated I was under his administration, before it was his administration, targeting there at the subway train station within transit districts 3 and 11, to the point where I wanted to give him a black eye. Okay, tell him I can't speak to the station agent.